This episode contains sensitive content related to domestic violence, emotional abuse, physical assault, and attempted unaliving. Listener discretion is strongly advised. If you or someone you know is experiencing domestic violence or emotional abuse, please consider reaching out to a trusted support service or local shelter. Your safety and well-being matter, and you are not alone. Imagine standing on the edge of a breathtaking Hawaiian cliff. The wind brushing your face, the scent of salt water in the air, and the panoramic view of the Pacific wrapping you in nature's splendor. It's a moment meant for awe and connection, a moment meant for love. For Arielle Konig, this serene and spiritual place was meant to be a birthday memory she'd cherish forever. Her husband, Dr. Gerhardt Konig, a respected anesthesiologist with a polished reputation and a life seemingly filled with success, had planned the hike as a special gift, a romantic gesture on the island of Oahu. But in the blink of an eye, that romantic gesture turned into a waking nightmare. As they stood together at the edge of the Pali Lookout, one of the most majestic yet notoriously dangerous cliffs in all of Hawaii, the unthinkable happened. With no warning, Arielle was suddenly pushed from behind, plummeting 30 feet down the rocky terrain. The man she trusted with her life allegedly tried to take it in one calculated, cold-blooded act. She survived, but barely. Battered, bruised, and broken, both physically and emotionally, Arielle's fall wasn't just down a cliff, but into a new reality where love became betrayal and a husband became a suspect in a terrifying attempt at unaliving her. What could drive a man, known for saving lives, to try and take the life of the woman who shared his home, his dreams, his future? Was it a moment of rage, a sinister plan, or something far darker brewing beneath the surface of a perfect life? This is not just a story about survival. It's a story about deception, unraveling secrets, and the thin line between devotion and danger. Before we dive deep into this shocking story of betrayal on the cliffs of paradise, I want you to take a moment and hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode that uncovers the truth behind the headlines. Be sure to follow me across all platforms at LifePoints with Rhonda. That's YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and of course, the podcast available on all streaming platforms. If you'd like to support the show and get exclusive content, join the Patreon family. And don't forget to visit LifePoints with Rhonda.com for consultations, merch, and more powerful conversations just like this one. Let's keep these stories alive and help bring justice and awareness to those who need it most. Now, let's get into it. Welcome back, family, to another powerful episode of Life Points with Rhonda, the podcast where real-life stories meet raw truth, healing, and heart-centered conversations. I'm your host, Rhonda, and as always, I'm here to guide you through the lessons that life, love, and sometimes loss bring our way. Whether you're driving, working, relaxing, or just needing that dose of truth and clarity, thank you for letting me be a part of your day. Now, you know we don't shy away from the uncomfortable. We talk about the hard things because they matter. Today's episode is no exception. We're diving into a chilling story that unfolded not on a crime show, but in real life, on the breathtaking cliffs of Honolulu, Hawaii, where what should have been a romantic birthday hike nearly ended in tragedy. We're going to explore betrayal at its deepest level, the fight for survival, and the strength it takes to walk away when the person who promised to protect you becomes the very one trying to destroy you. This is a story of resilience, a story that sheds light on the dangers hidden behind the mask of perfection. And it's a story you need to hear. So get comfortable, grab your tea or coffee, and let's talk about it. Because this is Life Points with Rhonda. The Cliffside Horror. What really happened on March 24th, 2025. It was supposed to be a birthday getaway, an escape to paradise. Arielle Konig had just turned 36, and her husband, Dr. Gerhardt Konig, had planned a scenic hike on Oahu's breathtaking Pali Lookout Trail to mark the occasion. The couple, visiting from Maui and leaving their 2 young children behind for a brief celebration, ventured into one of Hawaii's most scenic yet dangerous landscapes. The cliffs at Pali are no ordinary hills. They rise dramatically with jagged drops that plunge hundreds of feet into the jungle floor below. As they walked the trail, Arielle likely had no idea that the most dangerous thing she'd encountered that day wasn't nature, but the man beside her. According to court documents and witness statements, the mood shifted sharply when Gerhardt allegedly urged Arielle to take a selfie near the cliff's edge. Arielle declined. She was uneasy. Something didn't feel right. That simple no allegedly ignited Gerhardt's fury. In a chilling outburst, Gerhardt reportedly screamed, "Go back over there, I'm so f***ing sick of you." Then, without warning, he allegedly grabbed her arms and began pushing her toward the edge of the cliff. Arielle fought back. She managed to resist the shove, but the nightmare was far from over. In what prosecutors described as a premeditated attack, Gerhardt then allegedly struck Arielle in the head repeatedly with a rock, 10 times, according to medical reports. As she lay wounded and dazed, he reportedly tried to inject her with syringes filled with an unknown substance. This wasn't a spontaneous act of rage. It was a methodical attempt to end her life. Arielle screamed for help, and by what can only be described as divine timing, 2 nearby hikers heard her cries. They rushed to her aid, forcing Gerhardt to flee into the brush. Law enforcement launched a manhunt, and later that evening, he was apprehended near the Pali Highway after a brief foot chase. Bloodied and silent, he offered no resistance. Arielle was rushed to the hospital in critical condition, suffering from severe head and facial injuries. She had survived, but just barely. Later, she would file for a restraining order and reveal that this wasn't the first red flag in their marriage. Since December 2024, Gerhardt had allegedly grown increasingly jealous, obsessed with the idea that Arielle was being unfaithful. Even with couples counseling his controlling behaviors escalated, culminating in what can only be described as a horrifying attempt to take her life disguised as a vacation. And perhaps most disturbingly, just after the attack, Gerhardt allegedly FaceTimed his adult son, not to deny the crime, but to confess to it. According to authorities, he admitted to the assault and expressed suicidal thoughts. He now sits behind bars, charged with second-degree attempted unaliving, with bail set at $5 million. But even behind bars, the trauma he inflicted echoes far beyond the cliffs of Hawaii. For Arielle, this isn't just about surviving a fall, it's about reclaiming her life from someone who tried to destroy it. Behind closed doors, the dark reality of the Konig marriage. From the outside looking in, Gerhardt and Arielle Konig were the picture of success. A beautiful couple, living in Hawaii, raising 2 young children, traveling, and building a life many would envy. Gerhardt was a respected anesthesiologist, a man trusted to protect life in the operating room. Arielle, glamorous and warm, was often seen smiling in photos, embodying the role of a devoted wife and mother. But behind closed doors, things weren't as picture-perfect as they seemed. Court records and Arielle's post-incident testimony reveal a deeply troubled marriage marked by jealousy, emotional manipulation, and escalating control. The beginning of the end reportedly started around December 2024, when Gerhardt accused Arielle of infidelity, a claim she denies, but one that took root in his mind and began to grow into obsession. What followed, according to Arielle, was a chilling pattern of psychological abuse. Gerhardt's jealousy wasn't just verbal, it seeped into every part of their life. He allegedly monitored her whereabouts, questioned her friendships, and began isolating her emotionally. The couple entered counseling, but rather than resolving the tension, it only seemed to deepen the emotional chasm between them. Friends and family have since come forward, saying there were signs, small things, that didn't quite add up. Arielle would sometimes withdraw from social events or speak vaguely about working things out. But like many victims in high-functioning abusive relationships, she likely held on to hope. Hope that things would return to the way they used to be. Hope that the man she married would return to the person she once loved. There's an important layer to this. Gerhardt Konig was not just any husband. He was a man in a position of power. As a medical professional, he held authority, respect, and access. That access allegedly played a role in the crime itself. Authorities say the syringes he attempted to inject Arielle with were consistent with controlled medical substances, something only a professional like him would have access to. This wasn't a random explosion of rage. It was a layered, slow-burning descent into control, fueled by suspicion and enabled by privilege. And what makes this story all the more tragic is that Arielle reportedly stayed in the marriage for her children's sake, hoping that the counseling would be enough. She tried to make it work. She gave it time. But sometimes, love isn't enough to save someone from someone else's darkness. In hindsight, the birthday trip to Oahu wasn't about celebration. It was a carefully chosen opportunity. Remote, scenic, isolated. A place where someone could fall, and no one might ever know the truth. But fate had other plans. The investigation, arrest, and public fallout. As the chaos on the cliffside died down, and first responders rushed Arielle to the hospital, the manhunt for Dr. Gerhardt Konig began, almost immediately. Law enforcement officers with the Honolulu Police Department didn't take long to zero in on the suspect. This wasn't a mystery. It was an open manhunt for a man who had allegedly committed attempted unaliving in broad daylight on a popular tourist trail. Thanks to the quick thinking and heroism of two nearby hikers who heard Arielle's screams and intervened, Gerhardt was forced to flee the scene before he could finish what he allegedly started. Their actions may have saved her life, but Gerhardt didn't get far. Later that evening, authorities located him walking near Pali Highway. When officers attempted to approach him, he took off on foot, sparking a brief but tense chase. Within moments, he was taken into custody, disheveled, silent, and reportedly showing no signs of remorse. A once respected doctor, now in handcuffs, being escorted into a patrol car under the weight of the serious charges. Back at the scene, investigators discovered critical evidence, blood on the rocks, syringes, scattered near the cliff, and personal belongings that painted a picture of a premeditated act. Prosecutors would later allege that Gerhardt brought those syringes with the intent to finish the job in a way that would leave fewer visible signs. A chilling suggestion that he may have planned for the fall to appear accidental, then silence his wife with an injection if she survived. The media exploded with coverage. Headlines like "Top Doctor Tries to Unalive Wife in Cliffside Horror" and "Attempted Unaliving in Paradise" dominated both local and national news cycles. The contrast was too jarring to ignore. A man trusted to preserve life, now accused of calculating a near-perfect unaliving plot. And yet, in the courtroom, Gerhardt remained composed, silent, reserved, almost eerily calm. During his arraignment, he was charged with second-degree, attempted unaliving, and the judge set bail at $5 million, signaling just how serious the state considered the crime. As news of the incident spread, those who once admired Gerhardt professionally began distancing themselves. His employer reportedly placed him on indefinite suspension pending the outcome of the case. Medical boards may soon review whether he should retain his license. And Arielle, while recovering from her injuries, she made it clear this wasn't going to be a silent survival story. She filed for a temporary restraining order and provided chilling details in her testimony. Her words painted a portrait of a man unraveling, in private, of years of subtle control that had escalated into an outright attempt on her life. The court of public opinion wasn't kind either. Social media erupted with calls for justice, many expressing disbelief that such a respected figure could commit such a heinous act. But domestic violence advocates were quick to remind the public, abuse doesn't always wear a mask of evil. Sometimes it wears a lab coat. Sometimes it smiles in family portraits. Sometimes it hides in plain sight. This wasn't just about one woman's terrifying fall. This was about the larger conversation we still need to have about control, gaslighting, and how society overlooks signs when the abuser holds prestige or power. Survival is only the beginning. After the attack, Arielle Konig was rushed to the hospital in critical condition. Her body bore the brutal evidence of what she'd endured. Deep gashes on her scalp, facial trauma, and severe swelling. But what no X-ray could show was the emotional and psychological damage left behind by someone she once trusted with her entire life. As her physical wounds began to heal, Arielle faced a far more complex recovery, reclaiming her sense of safety, rebuilding her identity, and processing the unbearable truth that the man she loved, the father of her children, had allegedly tried to end her life. In the days that followed, Arielle took brave, decisive steps. She filed for a restraining order, submitted her account to the authorities in vivid, painful detail, and began the slow climb toward reclaiming her voice. She shared that this wasn't a one-time outburst. It was a culmination of months of escalating control, gaslighting, jealousy, and emotional manipulation. Through it all, her priority remained her children. Friends close to her say Arielle's strength lies in her love for them. How, even through her pain, she's remained focused on protecting them from the ripple effects of trauma and ensuring they never carry the emotional weight of their father's alleged actions. And yet, the emotional scars remain. The cliffs of Nuuanu Pali may be behind her, but the memory of what happened there will never fully disappear. It will live in her mind each time she second-guesses someone's intentions. It will echo in the silence of moments once filled with love. It will test her faith in the goodness of others. But here's what Arielle's story teaches us. Strength isn't always loud. Sometimes it's the quiet act of waking up and choosing to keep going. It's signing a court document to protect yourself. It's telling the truth even when your voice shakes, and it's refusing to let the violence of one man define the rest of your life. As she continues her recovery, the public's attention may fade, but her journey is far from over. Legal proceedings are still underway. The justice system will have its turn. But for Arielle, the truest form of justice may not be found in a courtroom. It's in her healing, in rebuilding, in living. Relationship reflections. Recognizing the red flags before it's too late. Sometimes, danger doesn't announce itself with a fist or a scream. It whispers in silence. It hides in plain sight, behind smiles in public, behind expensive vacations, behind whispered apologies, and empty promises of change. Arielle Konig's story forces us to confront a hard truth. Abuse is not always loud. Sometimes it's subtle, sophisticated, even manipulative enough to look like love. As a relationship coach and as someone who's walked beside many people on their healing journey, I want to pause here and reflect with you, heart to heart. Because this episode isn't just about what happened on a cliff in Hawaii. It's about what could be happening right now in someone's living room, someone's text messages, someone's marriage. Here are some of the red flags that Arielle allegedly experienced and that others may overlook until it's too late. Extreme jealousy. Disguised as passion, Gerhardt reportedly accused Arielle of cheating with no proof. Accusations became constant, but this wasn't love. It was control, masked as emotional investment, isolation from friends and family. Controlling partners often limit who you talk to when you go out or how long you stay connected to others. It may start with, "I just want more time with you," but can evolve into surveillance and manipulation. Emotional roller coasters. One day it's a romantic dinner. The next, it's shouting and verbal abuse. That inconsistency can be addictive and dangerous. The highs make you stay. The lows make you question your worth. Gaslighting. The manipulation tactic where you're made to doubt your memory, your sanity, your instincts. You're overreacting. "I never said that. Why do you always twist things?" These phrases are often signs of emotional control. Love bombing, followed by withdrawal. An abusive partner may shower you with affection, gifts, and apologies after harming you, only to withdraw and repeat the cycle once you feel safe again. Access to means. Gerhardt, as a doctor, allegedly used his access to syringes as part of his plan. When someone has the means and the motive, and there are warning signs, they must not be ignored. But here's the truth I need you to hear. No one deserves to be mistreated, manipulated, or abused. Not ever. Not for love, not for family, not for peace. And leaving is not easy. For many, it's the most dangerous step. That's why we need support systems, safe spaces, and platforms like this one to shine a light in the dark. If you or someone you love is experiencing anything you heard in this story, please know there is help. There is hope. You are not alone. Legal update. What's next for Gerhardt Konig? As of now, Dr. Gerhardt Konig remains behind bars at the Oahu Community Correctional Center, facing a charge of second-degree attempted murder. His bail has been set at a staggering $5 million, a strong indicator that the court considers him both a flight risk and a serious threat. Prosecutors argue that this was not a crime of passion, but a premeditated act. Evidence found at the scene, the syringes, the secluded location, the brutal nature of the attack has strengthened the case against him. His medical access to controlled substances may also become a key factor during trial proceedings, potentially opening the door to aggravated circumstances that could lead to harsher sentencing. In addition to the criminal case, Arielle has also filed for a restraining order, citing emotional abuse, threats, and controlling behavior leading up to the attack. These documents, now part of the public record, show a troubling pattern that prosecutors may use to support their case of intent and motive. It's likely that in the months to come, we'll see pretrial hearings focusing on mental competency, access to medical resources, and intent. The possibility of plea negotiations, though given the violent nature of the attack and public interest, the DA's office may push for full prosecution. Civil suits for emotional trauma and financial loss, especially considering Arielle's medical expenses, emotional distress, and the impact on their children. If convicted, Gerhardt Konig could face up to 20 years in prison or more, depending on the final charges and enhancements filed. Beyond the courtroom, this case is likely to spark renewed conversations around domestic violence laws in Hawaii, accountability for medical professionals, and the visibility of emotional and psychological abuse within high-income households. Justice, in its fullest sense, doesn't just mean a conviction. It means a reckoning. And it means that Arielle and survivors like her get the protection, the validation, and the peace they fought so hard to earn. How this story ties into relationships today. So how does a horrifying story like this connect to your life, your relationships, or the people you love? Because what happened to Arielle is not just a true crime story. It's a relationship story. A cautionary tale wrapped in privilege, silence, and the illusion of perfection. This is what we need to understand. Abuse doesn't always look like bruises. Sometimes it looks like suspicion, disguised as passion. Sometimes it sounds like a partner who just wants to know where you are all the time. Sometimes it hides inside careers, smiles, family trips, and even birthday surprises. So many people are walking around in relationships where they feel small, confused, afraid to speak up, or like they're always doing something wrong. They start to question themselves. They stay quiet to keep the peace. But what peace are we preserving if we're constantly sacrificing ourselves? This story reminds us that love should never hurt you emotionally, physically, or spiritually. Respect and safety are non-negotiables, not luxuries. No degree, job title, or social status excuses abuse. You can leave, you can heal, you can rebuild, and you can thrive. We all deserve to be in relationships where we feel seen, safe, supported, and free to grow. And if you're not there yet, it doesn't mean you're broken. It means you're awakening. Use this story as a mirror. Ask yourself, am I being honored in my relationship? Are there signs of emotional manipulation I've been ignoring? What am I teaching my children about what love is supposed to feel like? Whether you're in a relationship, looking for one, or healing from one, let this episode be your reminder. You are worthy of the kind of love that never asks you to shrink, to stay silent, or to survive it. You are not alone in your journey. And every time we shed light on stories like Arielle's, we create space for someone else to step out of the darkness. If today's episode moved you, challenged you, or opened your eyes in any way, don't keep it to yourself. Share this episode with someone who needs to hear it. You never know whose life you might help shift just by spreading awareness. In family, don't forget to subscribe and stay connected with me across all platforms: YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and the podcast, under the name Life Points with Rhonda. If you'd like to support the show and get exclusive behind-the-scenes content, join the community over on Patreon. Need coaching, spiritual guidance, or just a safe space to be heard? Visit lifepointswithrhonda.com for one-on-one consultations, resources, merch, and more powerful tools to help you thrive in life and love. Let's keep these conversations going, because your healing, your safety, and your joy are not negotiable. You matter. Your voice matters, and your life is worth protecting. Until next time, take care of your heart, honor your truth, and remember, you are never alone. Stay safe, stay grounded, and as always, stay phenomenal. Thank you for watching. If you found value in today's video, I invite you to take your journey even further with my podcast, Life Points with Rhonda. where we dive deep into relationships, personal growth, and the wisdom that helps you thrive. Tune in on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and all major streaming platforms for powerful insights that can transform your life. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel for more uplifting content like this video, and share it with someone who needs to hear this message today. Stay connected with me on Instagram, Facebook, and Patreon. Life Points with Rhonda. Visit my website at lifepointswithrhonda.com for exclusive content, coaching, and more. Thank you for your support. Until next time, take care and stay phenomenal.